question is about psychic snooping, or snooping into the motives of others. Wow, this is a big one for me. I want to know everything. I've always been very interested in people personalities because I want to understand why people do what they do. Over the past 3 years, I've looked deeply into 9/11, fluoride in the water, pesticides on food, chemtrails, and our money system. Specifically, I want to know who is behind these things and why. Initially, I was deeply troubled on my conclusions. I no longer worry about these things, but I desire improvements that could have positive effects on the whole world. What do you think about my continued interest in these topics?
Neat question. We think if you can follow these things from fascination rather than from fear, from a creator perspective rather than a victim perspective, then they're just another thing that you explore while being human. So many people address these issues, and boy, did you pick the top 5. We can't think of one you left off except for the UFOs. That's like a baker's half dozen. So many people pursue these topics because they feel like a victim and they want to sort of like, how can we best say this? They want to get out of victimhood, and so the way they do it is to find a big picture thing and try to knock it down. And then what happens is, let's say you have proof that 9/11 was a conspiracy of the aliens that live in the middle of the planet. Okay, we're just picking something out there, right? We don't think that you think that, but we're just doing one of our ridiculous examples. And let's say you have proof of that. I mean, proof that's indisputable in your mind. And you try to share that proof with others. And some people believe you, and some people think that you're full of shit. And the government won't listen to you, and you think that means more conspiracies are present. And you rally the troops to try to get people excited about what you're talking about, and nobody cares. Then you feel like even more of a victim. And that's where this can become a very slippery slope. If you can study what happened during any of these things that you brought up and come to some conclusions and work with those conclusions within yourself to shift your emanation, we think that's interesting. If you insist that those conclusions mean that other people have to change who they are, change their behavior, or modify themselves for you to feel good or feel like you made a good investment of your time, or that you're no longer a victim of these big bad conspiracies, they're conspiracies for a reason. They've been going on for a long time for a reason. They're very good sandpaper to rub up against. Extremely good sandpaper. But unfortunately, most people that we've seen that get caught up in these things use the sandpaper to feel even further victimized, to feel smaller, not bigger, to not feel empowered, to feel limited. So if learning about these things and discovering these things shows you more about who you are and how you navigate this world and what matters to you and what doesn't, and if it illuminates to you how the world is for you, great. If they make you feel like a victim or they make you feel small or powerless, not so great, because then what is your emanation? If your emanation was, I was fascinated and I studied these things and I'm not so fascinated by them anymore, or now that I feel like I have an answer, I'm okay with that, great. You might not ever get anybody to agree with you. And can you have a viewpoint that not everybody agrees with and not be diminished by that viewpoint? If you can't, then we suggest you get fascinated by something like bird counting, where you don't need everybody to agree with you, and you don't have to feel like you're pushing up against a huge authority figure in order to know that you've done a good job or spent a good investment of your time. Sometimes that idea of I want to know why people do what they do is because you're still trying to understand why you do what you do. You look out at the world and go, why did he do that? Do I do that? Why did she do that? Do I do that? Why does he feel that way? Do I feel that way? It can be useful in that regard. But if it's used to just be energetically snoopy as a way of not having to attend to what's going on within yourself, we call that shaking shoulders, right? You're reaching over what's in your lap to shake somebody else as if that is going to somehow make you feel better inside. And it might for a very short period of time, but your thing will come back. That's why we say focus on what is in your lap, so that you can attend to what is real for you. That's another thing that comes up when studying these big conspiracy theories is, what are you leaving, what are you using your attention on that means that you're not spending time on what's really real for you? Do you have a handle on all your familiar sufferings? Do you have a handle on your core emotion? Do you have a handle on static generation? If so, then we'd say you have time and energy to spend bird counting or thinking about conspiracy theories. But if you're going, I'm triggered by my familiar suffering, so I'll go talk about 9/11 with some people. No matter what you uncover about 9/11, you're never going to be able to make as much of a change in the world as you would if you changed your internal experience, modifying your emanation. That's our firm belief. Can't shake us from it. He says, I feel great about your perspective. Thanks.